Well, one pass interception by Cornelius earlier in this quarter led to a touchdown by Montreal. Let's listen to Bill Dell.
Offside pass by Montreal, first down at the point of occurrence.
Well, we correct ourselves. That was an offside pass deflected by Dumars into the hands of Jelly. And here's where it happened, intended for Gabriel.
There's the deflection right there, and it went, well, it didn't look like it went forward, but it apparently did go forward because they brought it back to the spot.
Well, most importantly, as far as Montreal is concerned, they have possession of the ball. And David Overstreet put his head down and challenged number 22, Glenn Cook.
Yeah, Overstreet is running like we said. This is probably his best game all year. I want to bring him any bad luck on the young man, but he hasn't fumbled the ball yet, and he's running with great balance and great determination to get those short yardage plays.
He had enough fumbles earlier in the first 15 games to make up for 3 or 4 seasons. He dropped the football 16 times in his first 15 games and lost 12 of them. However, you're absolutely right, Leo. He's been hanging onto that ball this afternoon, and he is looking like the David Overstreet the Montreal Alouettes anticipated he would when they lured him into their camp away from Miami. The measurement reveals that it's a first down, Montreal, on the 10-yard romp by Overstreet. Overstreet again. This time he's dropped right at the line of scrimmage. Rick Sovieta was there. So was Mike Raines. 8:26 is the time left to play in this third quarter with the score tied at 14. J.C. Watts has had 2 of his passes picked off in this third quarter. And undoubtedly on that telephone he's receiving some help from upstairs from the Ottawa spotting box.
Yeah, I just saw Dom Vetro come out of there and Ian Mofford came in.
Yes, the Montreal Alouettes are doing some shuffling of personnel, giving Johnson some help in calling the plays. Overstreet attempting to break the tackle, but was unable to shake the grasp of 2 Ottawa defenders over there on the 32-yard line. I think it was Carl Graisley who had a grip on him.
I'll tell you, that end run had the makings of doing something pretty good. He was almost got in the seam there to break it, but Ottawa recovered pretty tough.
Kirk, number 3, Graisley, number 7, are back. Kirk will field it at the 33. This time they drop him for a loss of about 1. A 44-yard kick and a loss of 1 on the attempted return. We'll return in just a moment.
Chevy makes good things happen.
Your kind of car, Chevy Cavalier.
With your kind of ride and just your kind of stride. For value and comfort, Chevy is the one.
Cavalier with state-of-the-art technology, 43 standard features, and front-wheel drive maneuverability.
Step into the good times. Chevy makes it happen. Good things happen with Chevrolet.
A reminder of the importance of this game as far as the Montreal Alouettes are concerned. They must win or tie to advance to the Eastern semifinal. A loss will mean that the Toronto Argonauts will face Ottawa next Sunday at Lansdowne Park. Oh, big pressure from Keith Gary, and J.C. Watts goes down back at his own 22-yard line.
George is sending somebody in here on his own now to bring a message in.
Gary Cook running into the ball game for Ottawa. Pat Stokwa is going out as a wide receiver.
What are you doing? It's 2nd down and 20 to go or something like that. Unless he's going to throw a screen pass, I don't know what he does.
Avery goes wide to the left. Calvin Kirk out to the right. 2nd and 20 for the Ottawa Rough Riders. Watts throwing deep for Avery. It's knocked away. Good defensive play by the Montreal Alouettes. That was Butler who came up to knock the ball right out of Avery's hands. He had gone high to make a catch, and Butler simply came up and drilled it out of his hands.
I'll tell you, you won't see a better defensive play by a secondary man here any place, anytime. He went up and just like a basketball player, knocked it right out of his hands without making contact, and that was a super play. I've heard of guys stripping people with the ball in their hand, but I never saw anybody knock it out that clean.
Jerry Organ stands back at his own 7. 6:11 the time left in this third quarter. Johnson and Dumars are back for the third down kick. White Shoes will take it at the 42. Montreal has got a return here. To the 35 of the Ottawa Rough Riders goes Billy White Shoes Johnson. A 46-yard kick, a 33-yard run back.
Gets the ball and starts like he's going to make a return on the left and just darts right in through there and starts down the field. Now you'll see him do something here that's a little dangerous. He jumps up in the air, and when he does, that ball comes out in the open like that. And you got to be careful that that's not knocked loose on a play like that.
Braisley and Glassford were the men who finally stopped Johnson at the 35 of Ottawa. Mark LaSalle is going to lose a couple of yards, caught by Doug Seymour, the defensive tackle.
So now they got second down now and about 12 yards to go. First down at this stage of the ball game after that kind of a play would have been a good place for a play action pass or a screen. They went to LaSalle, who doesn't have the speed of an Overstreet, and gave him the ball, and as a result they took that little loss in there. But I've been impressed with LaSalle. Got good balance, and when he gets the opportunity, he does something with the ball.
Well, he played his collegiate football at McGill. He was Montreal's #1 protected player. Second down, the home run throw intended for Vetro way over his head.
There's Starkey on the sidelines warming up for Ottawa, and you know, Watts has been playing pretty well, but George was pretty lucky a couple weeks ago when he put Starkey in the middle of a game against Calgary, and it worked out fine, so he might be taking another shot at it.
Well, I know you told him he was lucky last night, and he replied, great strategy, inserting Kevin Starkey into the game against the Calgary Stampeders to replace J.C. Watts. And Starkey was able to hit on a couple of passes that enabled Ottawa to knock off the Stampeders. A field goal try from 44 yards out by Don Sweet. It's long enough. It's good. Now with 4:27 left in the third quarter, the Montreal Alouettes lead 17-14. And I wonder what Tommy Hudspeth, Ralph Sazio, and the Toronto Argonauts are thinking at this juncture of the ball game.
Well, they've been around the game a long time, and they know that there's just, you know, you got 15 minutes left in that fourth quarter and almost 5 minutes left now, so that's plenty of time to change the game around about 3 or 4 different times. But the Alouettes right now, it's funny, they started the ball game, they scored first, they had the momentum, then Ottawa stole it from them in that second quarter and went ahead against them. Now they're starting the third quarter the same way. The Alouettes have the momentum again, and we'll see whether they can retain it or not, because this is where it all counts right now.
The Montreal Alouettes will kick off after that field goal success of Don Sweet, and Carl Braisley and Sam Platt are back. 4:27 is the time left in this third quarter. 17-14 is the score in favor of the Alouettes. Platt and Braisley ran into each other. Platt finally gets the ball and runs it back to the 34-yard line. So they actually lost a yard in that one, because had they scrimmaged at the 35, they would have been a yard further downfield.
Incidentally, Watts is back in the ball game. Starkey was warming up there for a bit. George has thought he's going to let this guy go a little while longer, I guess.
Well, I think unless Watts gets things going here, we might see Kevin Starkey on the next series. Watts is going to run with the ball. He gets a couple of blocks, and he's going to get a first down. And Tom Cousineau almost decapitated him in making the tackle.
I saw Cousineau almost try to rip. We're going to see it back here again, hopefully. No, we're not going to see that play. But I saw Cousineau try to rip his head off there and then pat him a little bit when he was getting up. You know, Watts looked at him as much as to say, don't open your shirt, your heart will fall out.
Keith Gary catches J.C. Watts for a loss back at the 43. Doug Scott followed up in the play after Keith Gary made the initial force, and Kevin Starkey may be getting into this ball game in the next couple of minutes.
They got to do the same thing. If Starkey gets in there, they got to go after him right early and put some pressure on him, because these kids are still youngsters as far as quarterbacks are concerned in the CFL. The only thing that will really shake them up is a lot of pressure.
Second down from the 40. Pressure again. He was able to swing it out to Jim Reed. And Reed is down at the 42. And so Ottawa is forced into a punting situation, and we'll be back with the third down kick right after this.
In the late 1920s at Canadian Pacific, our name often looked like this in Northern Ontario. 3 R's stood for reading, writing, and arithmetic. For 40 years with the Department of Education, we operated traveling classrooms to bring formal schooling to children in isolated communities. To them, there were 4 R's to education, and one of them was railway.
Today is Canadian Pacific.
We're proud of yesterday, but we're planning for tomorrow.
Football was originally called Whimpets and required heavy padding. But as men became sturdier through physical fitness, the name was changed to Fuss Bucket or Chemin de Fou. Players continued to exercise 3 times a week, developing their hearts and lungs, and with the addition of cheerleaders, the present-day game was born.
Participaction says none of this was true, except the part about fitness being good for you.
Back at Olympic Stadium, 2:37 left in the third quarter. Montreal leading Ottawa 17-14. George Brancato looking on intently as Jerry Organ lines up for this third down kick at his own 27.
The tide has turned a little bit, and the guy that's turning the tide to some extent is Tom Cousineau, who looks like he's getting stronger as he goes.
Billy Johnson on another return down the sidelines and out of bounds at the 52 of Ottawa. A 38-yard kick by Jerry Organ, and Billy Johnson on the return with a 28-yard run back.
Dumars is a personal interferer right here, runs right ahead of him. Doesn't look like he blocked too many people right here. They should have given him the ball.
Well, as Rhino excelled on punt returns in the first half for Ottawa, Johnson has taken over for Montreal in the second half. Johnson is going to run it for Montreal. He'll be very close to a first down at the 42.
Again, it bears out what Coach Eddie said yesterday, that this guy can tuck it away and run with it, and he ran with a little authority that time, enough to get the first down.
You think he really wanted to run with that when he dropped back?
No, he'd rather just take a pass on it any day.
Greg Marshall, Mitchell, and Seymour were all converging on Johnson when he wisely went down at the 41. It's a first down, Montreal. 1:22 is the time left in the third quarter. Over the middle for Peter Gallarippa. Another Montreal first down at the 22, tackled by Larry Broom. Well, they had a day on Delariva a week ago. He'll retire at the end of the season, but he's still going to make contributions to Montreal's attack before this year is out.
You know, you can't help but get a feeling that you really like to see a guy like Delariva catch a ball, make a big play. And the same thing with Gabriel from Ottawa. They've made so many big plays, and they do so well that regardless who you're pulling for, you got to be pulling for them.
1st and 10. Montreal at the Ottawa 20. Inside with David Overstreet. He breaks a couple of tackles. That will be another first down. Glenn Cook finally knocked Overstreet down and may have saved a touchdown.
Look at that Overstreet again, just evading tacklers, staying on his feet, and his balance is what's really exceptional today. He's been tackled by 3 or 4 people, and he breaks through and looks like he's going to go down and just stays on his feet.
The Alouettes have dominated offensively in this third quarter after trailing 14-7 at halftime.
Now Ian Mofford, there's Watts over on the sidelines. He's probably wondering what he has to do to get things going here. He can feel the tide shifting a little bit himself. But Ian Mofford just came in for the Alouettes with a play from the sidelines, and this is a critical play at this time. We'll see what they're going to do.
This is a reverse. Johnson is going to try and throw it. That's Billy Johnson, but he won't get a chance. He runs out of bounds at the 21-yard line. And that's the end of the third quarter. The big pressure there from Greg Marshall. And after 45 minutes of play, Montreal leads by 3.
Our Canadian farmers work hard to feed our nation's 24 million people. And from coast to coast, 1 in 4 of our Canadian workers are employed in agriculture and the food industries. Thanks to the skill of all these people, Canada is a world leader in agricultural production. The Government of Canada plays an important role. Agriculture Canada operates 43 research facilities across our country, invests millions of dollars to improve quality and ensure an adequate supply of food. So there are benefits for all of us, consumers and farmers alike. The Government of Canada works with the provinces, universities, private companies, and farmers to help Canadians maintain the degree of excellence we have achieved in this vital industry. If you'd like to know more about this subject, write to us for free information. Brought to you by the Government of Canada.
Tuesday on the 5th estate, is it time to bring the Canadian peacekeepers home from Cyprus?
500 guys here away from their wives and girlfriends, turning them loose in Nicosia and those nice beaches down at Limassol with all those great blonde Swedish tourists.
Well, if all the blonde Swedish tourists are there, there's no discipline problem.
The UN peacekeeping force has lost its function. They are doing absolutely nothing. They are enjoying the sun and bathing.
That's the 5th estate, Tuesday at 8, 8:30 in Newfoundland, here on CBC.
Well, there's not much difference in terms of total offense. The Ottawa Rough Riders have had more success through the air. The Montreal Alouettes have moved it much better along the ground. Movement at the line of scrimmage. Johnson looking for a free one. Scott, touchdown!
I believe that the Alouettes were offside, guys. I mean, that the Ottawa Rough Riders were offside, I meant.
Well, Johnson had a free one there, and he took full advantage.
Sometimes that'll happen, too. When somebody jumps offside, the defense lets down and thinks that the play isn't going to counter something. It's an automatic reaction. As a result, he went down, bent that pattern into the end zone, and was wide open. Boy, he just run that post pattern in there and beat the coverage and caught it over his right shoulder. Beat Brazeley.
A big play for the Alouettes in this fourth quarter. Point after by Don Sweet. And it's now a 10-point difference.
There, and he just makes the move on Brazeley and just outruns him to the inside. See how he keeps running until he gets that ball in his hands and just catches it in there for the post pattern for the touchdown. And he's a piece of work when he runs down that field, boy. He's under control, and he's got good eyes and excellent hands. He's a great receiver. what a pair they make. Scott on one side and Johnson on the other.
Well, the Alouettes trailed by 7 at halftime, and they now lead by 10. A big reception for James Scott. He's the leading receiver for the Alouettes. And that particular catch, in reflecting back on this 1981 season, may rank as one of his biggest. Because now the Montreal Alouettes, with 14:36 to go, have a leg up in the battle for third spot. And if they do finish third, a return engagement in the Eastern semifinal next Sunday at Lansdowne Park in Ottawa. Kirk and Brazeley are back on this kickoff return. It'll go out of bounds. No opportunity for a run back. They'll kick off again.
I don't know whatever happened to the squib kick, not exactly the squib, but the kick on the ground, where you just scoot it down there, Don, and just keep it away from those great punt returners and kickoff returners. But that time, they definitely tried to avert the two guys back there, and when you do that, time and time again, you kick the ball out of bounds, it's brought back, and you put yourself in an imposition. But if you kick the ball hard and kick it through those frontline defenders and on the ground, it gives you a chance to get down there, and they can't field it clean and bring it back for a big return.
Kevin Starkey keeping his hands warm on the sidelines, anticipating an opportunity perhaps to go in and call the signals for the Rough Riders in this fourth quarter. But first, Don Sweet has a kickoff function to perform.
There's what I'm talking about right there.
A driving kick into the arms of Jim Reed. And Reed fights his way out to the 47-yard line. And Kevin Starkey is coming into the ball game. J.C. Watts worked the first 3 quarters. And Kevin Starkey will call the shot for the Ottawa Rough Riders here in the fourth quarter.
And Jim Eddy says on the sidelines, I'll take that kickoff. As long as they don't get it to one of those guys and they break it all the way, we'll play defense now.
Platt goes inside on the first Ottawa play to the 50-yard line. George Brancato, in talking last night about Kevin Starkey, said he's not afraid to throw the ball. Interceptions don't worry him. He'll fire it in there.
Well, he's going to get his chance right here because this is a passing down. Starkey's not loose, not warmed up yet, so he may hit one of the swing backs out of the backfield or hit short just to try to make the first down. I'd be surprised if he goes too deep, not being warmed up.
Kirk goes wide right. Walker to the left. He's being chased by Gary. Now he throws deep. Gabriel's got it down at the 30-yard line. And for Tony Gabriel, that equals his most successful season, 1976, when he caught 72, his third catch of this afternoon. A big pass from Starkey to Gabriel for a gain of 30 yards.
He should have been caught here by Gary. Gary had 2 hands on him, but he got away, pulled away in here, and he threw the ball on the run. Could have very easily been intercepted here, but look at that Gabriel. Concentration, brought it in with one hand, and got themselves a first down.
And Tony Gabriel, 11 yards away from becoming the CFL's 14th 1,000-yard receiver this year. Gabriel again, and for Tony Gabriel, a new high, and he goes over 1,000 yards. A career best of 73 receptions in one season and 2 one-handed efforts by the Gabe. Well, that's Starkey. He came in against Calgary 2 weeks ago and did quite a job in the fourth quarter. We may see a repeat of those final quarter heroics on the part of the young Ottawa quarterback. Sam Platt fighting inside to the 9-yard line. Ayu and Jelly made the tackle on Platt. It's a pickup of about 3. It will be 2nd and 7. 12-17 is the time left in the ball game.
Well, George Brancato's got a penchant for making that move at the right time, it seems like, because this guy wasn't warm at all or wasn't loosened up, and he's come in and done a great job of getting him down there.
There it is, but Gabriel couldn't get to it. Gabriel was open. He was just overthrown by about a stride by quarterback Kevin Starkey, as Gabriel in the end zone had beaten Dave Dumars.
It wasn't that he wasn't wide open. He made the break, and he had the outside open. All they had to do was just lay the ball in there, and the ball was overthrown a little bit. He may have felt that pressure coming because he took an awful shot from the backside that time.
Jerry Organ with a field goal attempt now from 17 yards out. It's wide. Organ's field goal try is wide, and Dumars steps out of the end zone for a single point. Ottawa. It's now 24-15. And we have 11 minutes and 35 seconds remaining in this ball game.
In the early days, when we ran the railway at Canadian Pacific, there was no doubt about it. It was a railway. Tracks and steam engines and freight cars. It was a railway, all right. And a darn good one, too. Well, time went on, and things progressed, of course. We developed new engines, new freight cars, new techniques. Well, that's progress. But now, look at this. Does that look like a railway? Look at that. Would you know that that's a railway? It's that new intermodal service. Domestic containers for trucks and trains. Slick as a whistle on one or t'other. Less handling, safer freight, door to door, more capacity, fuel savings, better service. You know, you young fellas at Canadian Pacific today are doing just fine.
Today's Canadian Pacific.
We're proud of yesterday.
But we're planning for tomorrow.
A variety of action next Saturday on CBC Sports Weekend. A report on the North American Karting Championships from Goodwood, Ontario, a Canadian mountaineering expedition in the Himalayas, and the Canadian Parachuting Championships from Claresholm, Alberta. That's all next Saturday on CBC Sports Weekend. 1st and 10, Montreal. They are at their own 35. Overstreet inside. He has very close to 10. About 9.5 for the Montreal running back. Tony Gabriel in the clear in the end zone on 3 consecutive passing attempts. Kevin Starkey went to him. He hauled in 2 one-handed stabs. He was unable to make the third as he was just overthrown.
And don't you know, Tony wanted that ball in that third one, boy. He loves to score, and he was open, and he knew that if they just would have got the ball to him, it was a touchdown.
1,006 yards on the season for Gabriel.